All right, team. Welcome to Marathon Mondays. We are here with one of my lovely, lovely running buddies and super inspiration, Mr. Matthew Meyer. Hi.
Oh, hey there, Bex. How are we doing today?
Should I call you Montana Matthew from now on?
I mean, right now I am definitely like Mr. Montana Matt. It's been really interesting. Normally, as you know, I'm call New York City home and still do call it home, but I've been hanging out in Montana since March,
Uh,
and
7 months. 7 months. Excuse me. One. All right. We're
that
back.
makes it eventually gets better as far
Good.
as cats and dogs.
I need that. I need that. You have been there for 7 months. Unfreaking believable. I haven't seen you properly in 7 months. And you're just living this life. Wow.
I'm living this strange life where I'm doing a lot of like remote coaching, working with athletes one-on-one, and with the many other hours that occupy my days, trying to just enjoy being outside, running, obviously. There's so much good running. Did you know that everywhere outside of New York has lots of hills? Like everywhere. Like I used to be like, oh guys, come on, New York's not that flat. You can find some hills. And I agree, there are some hills.
Some hills.
But like everywhere here, I'm like, there isn't flat. I haven't found it yet, personally.
Wow. Oh my
But
gosh.
just been enjoying what Montana holds. I've been really working on my fly fishing. I tell you what, whew,
Wow.
my
You
fly
are
fishing is
officially
really coming
on
up.
top of everything else now.
A little bit here and there.
So living up in the hills,
Hmm.
realizing that Manhattan Bridge isn't the hilliest of the courses, or Harlem Hill in Central
Oh
Park
yeah.
isn't
I am excited to like take this newfound hilly fitness and like go and rip it
uh-huh.
in the city. We'll
Mm-hmm.
see how that goes.
Well, I mean, you are not by any means a veteran of running at all.
I wish someday. That's like the goals in the future. But no, I'm like a young cat in the game.
You really are. I remember one of the first times we ran together and you were like, yeah, this is my first marathon coming up. I'm like, excuse me?
Huh?
What now? You're this fast already? And what? But you, like, how? 3 years ago? Was your first?
Yeah, yeah. About three, just over. Yeah, it's actually coming up on like 3 years ago. Yeah. Um, it. I can't even like. I try to think about like what my life was like before running came in so strongly. It's I don't really know what it was beforehand. I kind of have an idea,
I
but
remember you telling me on a run once. Yeah, I used to work for a brewery. I used to eat a lot of burgers and drink a lot of beer, and I didn't really run. And I was like, oh, you're blowing my brain today. It's probably on the same run. I was like, I'm not understanding this.
having some fun. Yeah, I mean, I when I moved to the city, um, I never really running wasn't part of me. What I did, I ran a little bit in high school just because I'm always someone who likes to try things out, like
Yeah.
fly fishing. I'm like, oh, let's give this a shot. If someone's like, hey Matt, have you ever tried scuba diving? I'm like, no, but let's give it a shot. I'm always game for it. And same thing had happened a lot through. So running had been one of the things that I was like, it's not my favorite, but I'll give it a shot. And kind of just let that go to the wayside. But then when I got to New York, I just ended up really unhappy with kind of who I was and what my daily life looked like, and decided I needed to do something to make a change, and started finding my way into a little bit of health and fitness. And the unexpected part of that was like getting healthier, of course, but really loving running. That was by no means the goal. I just need to sober up for a little bit and not eat as many cheeseburgers. Cheeseburgers are still there for anybody who's wondering. I'm still like a big burger guy. I
Yeah.
just don't have like 4 a day anymore, which is helpful, really helpful. But yeah, I just found my way into a little bit of running. I used to run like a mile around my apartment. Like I would just like, I had like this 1 mile route in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
And then eventually I was like, I think I can run more than this. So I was like, I'll run it twice. And eventually I was like, I'll run 2 miles. And I live in Astoria in New York, and there's a park I really like, Astoria Park. And it was about 4 miles round trip. And I was like, I think I can do this. So that was like one of the ones that I was like, I ran to the park and I ran back. And then it just kind of kept going from there. I met the right people who had really, who were like in the scene, who ran all the time. And everyone was always asking like, what are you training for? I'm like, I don't know. Life. Being better, I don't know. And less cheeseburgers, who knows? But yeah, just started getting into it, and ended up like running my first half super on a whim. Didn't really know what I was doing. I didn't have any gels. I'd never ran more than like 6 miles before. And oh yeah, it was a good time. So I just like ran with people. I was like, I think I'm just gonna go for it. And then,
which race was that?
oh golly, when was it? Was this half marathon. It was called the Verrazano Half Marathon.
As in the bridge?
As in the bridge. It's underneath the bridge. Oh. And it was a double out and back. So you just went out and back.
That's the water, dude.
Yeah, literally out back, just along the waterfront, like underneath the Verrazano Bridge.
Oh, like en route to Coney Island.
Yep. And I had no idea what I was doing.
Oh.
Had a really good time, enjoyed it. I totally fell off. I had no idea. But it was so fun. And then ended up running the Brooklyn Half like a couple weeks later, and I was like, this is really fun.
Cool.
Found my way into like the right people, that they were like, hey, what marathon are you training for? And I was like, I don't know. Someone asked, like, are you training to run the Philly Marathon? And I was like, yes, that's the one. I immediately like looked it up on my phone. I was like,
enter
Philly Marathon, and then boom, I registered for it and just decided to run it, and
you crushed it.
Yeah, I had some fun.
What was your first marathon time?
2:57.
All right, yeah. So there we go, kids. First foray into a marathon. He runs sub 3. This is Matt Meyer.
I like to have some fun. It was super cool. I just was like, I was lucky enough to have the right people around me that were like, you should try this. You should run this with us.
You have also a mentality, I think, from knowing you. I don't know you inside out, but I've been very lucky to get to know you since I've lived in New York. And I put it down, I think, a lot to being an actor. Your first, that was your first career. Let's say your learning brain comes from acting, which is not an overnight thing. You have to learn words, you have to learn lines, you have to learn parts, you have to learn characters, and you have to be humble and patient with that process. Otherwise, you fail.
Yeah. There's a technique, and it's not like you just do this and then you arrive, but rather it's like a continual training process. That like the goals, I don't really think there's ever like a goal like, all right, I'm there, I did the thing, and now it's done. Yep. But rather it's like always something that you're working towards. Like it's a way you are, rather than just like a thing to get to.
Precisely. And that's how your running career comes across as well, even from that having the humility of the 1 mile block around your house to one day saying, I'm comfortable with this. And I'm comfortable
to progress
it to the 2 miles. I'm going to do that twice. And then adding in the park, and knowing that you have to have a process, have a journey. It's just, patience in the process are their one thing. You just have to be able to sit back and be like, all right, it's a bloody long road ahead of me, but I'm willing to travel it. Because the longer it goes on, the more amazing and cool stuff I'm going to see and experience along the route, instead of, it's going to get boring, I just want it to happen now.
And that's something that I haven't really thought about this, and the fact that I've never been like, wow, this is going to take so long. It just like kind of just clicked from the beginning that I was like, oh no, this is just like what you do. I think I was just pretty used to like the process,
Hmm.
like a process based thing, whatever that is, that
Yeah.
I really like having something that you work at every day.
Yeah.
That running is not necessarily like, I don't think of it always as like an event,
No.
but rather like a daily way to be. But you can like use this as like, what does showing up today look like? What does better today look like? Because you're not gonna be setting a record every single day. And
Yeah.
sometimes just being comfortable and taking care of yourself is what showing up that day looks like. And
Yeah. Especially for, I think, new runners through to experienced runners. Showing up doesn't even have to mean lacing up.
yes, absolutely.
It can be that, like, all right, I've got other things to do. I think,
Mhm.
I don't know about you as a running coach, but throughout this whole roller coaster of a ride that we've been on the past few months, I've had numerous messages from people. Oh, I've fallen off my training program. What long run distances should I be doing? What should my training week look like? How many hit runs? How many speed work sessions should I be doing? I'm like, uh, I don't know you. I don't know the answer for my own training, because right now, how long is this going on for is like asking how long a piece of string is. And why don't you just realize that you're an accountant by day, you're a runner as a hobby? And why did you start running? You ran because you enjoyed it. So just run when you feel like going to enjoy yourself. Like if you drink, you have a beer or a glass of wine to have a glass of wine and enjoy it.
Mhm.
You just go out there. Don't put a watch on, because right now you're going to look back on this time and be like, oh man, I really wish I could just go for a run instead of like clocking those paces and that distance.
Mhm. I've been trying to like, I really enjoy like running workouts. I like hard runs. I like easy things. But like if I look at my times, my stats right before all this happened and where I'm at right now, I'm not even close number wise, time wise. And I was really letting that bother me. Um, I ended up having to ended up running like a half marathon time trial. I was like, I think I can rip this. No, no, it went so poorly. I was very glad to do it and to like have a chance just to kind of grind.
But you're in
But
the mountains though now.
oh
So you
yeah,
got to take that into account too.
there was so many factors. I ended, it was like there was like 2,000 feet of elevation gain. I was up running on the mountains. It was a hot day. All these things, but
Yeah.
I
Either
was
way,
just like,
it bugs you.
yeah, I was like, man, I've been working so hard and this isn't really connecting. But I've been, as of late, really trying to put some distance between like what the runs, like the numbers say, and how I feel about it. Like numbers are just a piece of data.
Yeah.
Take it for what it is. Like some days you're running a little slower. That's okay. Like take those slower days when you need it. Some days things really click and you're like, ah, this is great. But like you said, at the end of it, why are you doing it in the first place? Like I think a lot of us have had to get back to that deeper connection with it. Why? Because there's no races right now.
Mhm.
There's no like immediate goals like that where it's like, oh, I'm doing this thing in 12 weeks, so I need to be ready. I'm going to hit A, B, and C.
Mhm.
But rather like what seems exciting right now? Like what's good for you? What's the best thing for you right now? Like I was supposed to I was supposed to run a 50K this was it 2 days ago on Saturday? This is Marathon Monday. So Saturday I was supposed to run 50K. I had this really fun route planned through the mountains. I was super stoked. Literally, I was running to the top of a ski mountain.
Oh,
It's going to be great. It's like 32 miles, 7,000 feet uphill. Super stoked. And I fell 10 minutes in, rolled my ankle pretty hard, heard some like sounds I don't like to hear coming out from my body, and I had to let it go. I'm gonna go get it again later. One of the few benefits of this weird time in training and running right now is that you can make it work for you. That I was like, well, if this was a race with other people and everything else, I would have had to I wouldn't have been able to just pick another weekend.
mhm.
But because of the fact of I decided this, I set the course myself. I just like, hey, this seems cool. It's exactly what I did. I was like, all right, well, whatever. I'll just come back another day for it. I had to take some time for myself, which I'm not great at. I was all ready to I was like, I'm gonna lace up and run it the next day. I'm fine. And I went out for a jog to just test it in the morning, and it wasn't right. And
Yeah, that's when you got
that's
to look at
okay.
it and say, if I go out now, it's going to really hurt me long term. And I'm
And
going
it's
to run for weeks rather than days.
yes, exactly. So I mean, I haven't ran in, what is it, 3 days now?
Yeah.
And that's okay. Like, and even that goal itself looked really different. I love running long. I'm a big distance guy, and this would have been my first real foray into the ultra distance world, and it's kind of been changing how I think about my running. Like, I get really mad at myself when I miss stuff, when I don't hit the splits, when I don't hit that, and nature is too big of a force for me to like kind of just push my will through. And it's like, hey, sometimes things just are out of your control, and you got to slow down, and you got to walk when you need to, and run
Mm.
when you can. And
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. I
so I'm
really, I
trying
think,
to get some more scope on this. Like I said, like you pointed out, I'm very young in running, and there's so much to learn. There's always so much to learn. I think when you stop learning, that's when you kind of are done with things. And
yeah. You're right.
um,
I think this
it,
time has given us the opportunity to sit back and, uh, initially it was a real downer
I
on
was
life.
so mad.
Because
I was so
everything's
mad.
gone, everything stopped. And then I just, after a while, was having conversations with many people, but mainly older generations, parents,
Yeah,
and the such, of them saying, listen, this has never happened before.
it's never happened before. It's a very unique opportunity.
Yeah, that you, especially younger generations like yourself, where you have no dependents other than a dog that you can just, they don't mind where they live, and a cat,
Hmm.
animals, you can pick them up and you can take them from New York City, New York, Astoria, to Montana,
Hmm.
and you can continue doing a version of your work
Yep.
remotely, and you can step back from life for a minute. You can slow down.
And I feel like you live in New York, that there is like it's 110 miles an hour
Yeah,
all the time.
that was the reason why it took so long for that brain to change. I mean, I've lived in London since I was 17. Well,
Hmm.
Barcelona, then London, and then New York. I
All big, fast metropolitan places.
yeah, I just like a little hamster.
Hmm.
And that point in time where I don't have a lot of work to do if I'm not planning classes. And the start of quarantine, it sort of, that was how it was. It was a couple of weeks where there was nothing. We didn't
Just
know
wait.
what was going to happen. And I
We were
had
all just we were all waiting. We had
yeah,
no idea. There was no playbook
no.
on this.
And then sitting there like for a couple of days, like, what? I don't even need to get up. And you kind of get into that like, I'm not going to feel sorry for myself because I'm alive, I'm healthy, everybody I love
Mhm.
is healthy. But at the same time, my reason, my being had gone.
The the why.
Yeah.
You really had to question what the why was.
Yeah.
I absolutely did. I was like, man, like, I think things were moving fast enough before that I wasn't able to slow down. I didn't have time to ask those questions. I was just like,
No, there was always something to do. I didn't need to fill my time. Any extra time I had was to sit, if I had 5 minutes to read a book instead of listening to a book.
I'm gonna take a nap.
Yeah, nap.
Little
Have a
things.
nap. Literally, or like spend an extra time just sitting on the balcony with Austin instead of like, I'll meet you at a bar and then 5 friends are going to arrive and then we're going to have dinner and then we're going to do this and then we're going to get up at 5 a.m. to go to work.
Then I gotta go run. Then I'm gonna do this. How did we fit anything in? I look back and I'm like,
a diary before. Like I didn't have a Google Calendar before, anything other than work put in, because there was no point. I knew when I woke up in the morning, I knew that every hour
something was planned.
there was
Something
no
had to happen.
because it was just natural. Whereas now I'm like, I put it in my diary because my brain has gone the other way. If I have 2 days now where I have to get up early and I have busy days and I run, not even a training run, I just go for a run.
Go for like easy run.
I'm exhausted. I'm like, at 6 a.m.
How, I don't know. I don't understand like how. I don't think that not that we ever want to go back to normal, because I don't think that normal for many reasons was working, but I just I can't see myself fitting back into that box anymore. I woke up almost most days 3:30 a.m. was my alarm clock. 3:30 or 4 o'clock. You know the life.
You always used to make me feel so lazy when I got up at 5 a.m.
Dude, 3:30 is where the real hard hitters go. 3:30.
Yeah.
Got Dave Goggins on this thing where he just wakes up too early. And now I'm like, oh man, I how did I do that?
Yeah. And consecutively, not just like one day a week. You did it
That was just
every
that was
day.
just it. That was just like the way it went.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it didn't feel weird.
Yeah. Oh, and it was normal. It was so normal. I always felt like I had more energy then as well.
And we're running like big weeks.
Big weeks, 100-mile weeks, and continuing to do that and living a life. I'm like, hold on.
Like I'm looking at my schedule now and I'm like, how did I?
Yeah. What did I do?
There's only so many hours. Yet we fit it in.
Yeah. It's a joke. It's a joke.
Mm-hmm.
But talking of those days, I mean, we met when you were training for Chicago.
I think so. I'm pretty sure that was that was Chicago.
That was Chicago, and you beasted Chicago.
Oh, that was quite the time.
It was.
I had no idea.
You went from 56 to
242.
242.
I had big goals and I had no idea what I was getting into.
Just give it a go.
Sometimes you just got to send it and see what happens.
But Chicago is a beautiful course. It's flat, apart from that damn little hill right at the end, which isn't even a hill. It's just the 26th mile of a 26.2 race, and it's a slight.
It's like a slight incline. You would never notice it otherwise.
Nope. If it was at mile 1, you'd be like, oh, this is a downhill. It's so flat. But no, that final bend.
Yeah.
And I think it was after that we ran more and more, and then you had your incredible Streets 101 Saturday long runs leading up to New York, or well, you always have them, but they really got big last summer leading up to New York. I was bumped every Saturday. You ran. I was always teaching my 8:30 a.m. class, and you always ran on my favorite routes, be it the West Side Highway, be it West Side Highway to Central Park, be it wherever you were. I was like,
hit the bridges, roll, do whatever you can, bop here, bop there.
Yeah, and you always, bless you, as a true friend, would always message just in case I wasn't working. This is where we're gonna be. This is where we're gonna run. I'm like, I wish. And there were the days like I'd run past you guys because I would do my class from Christopher Street, and I'd go out for my long run, always by myself, which you and I are similar in that respect. And then I'd run past like the Nike Project Moonshot group. You guys like, I'm just starting.
And everyone's like, man, we're just finishing up. And you're like, hey.
I've got 20 odd miles to do and it's about to crank it in heat. But your style of running, I think, aside from your Streets 101 and your Mile High stuff, you are the kind of guy who likes to go and get after it alone.
Yeah,
Correct me if I'm wrong.
I do. I do. I mean, especially for the last 7 months, I've been almost exclusively running alone.
Mhm.
Every so often, I'll have a friend here and there that's like passing through. But I normally run alone. In the city, even before quarantine happened, I normally run alone because we have a really weird schedule. No, I don't know many people who are like, I'm like, hey, on a Tuesday at 10 a.m., do you want to run? You're probably at work. I just finished. I've been up since 3:30. I finished work at like 9 a.m. Now I'm going to go for my run. And it just didn't really work out with people. So like part of it was out of necessity, but then the more that I would run alone, the more that I realized that there's a lot of value in the fact that when you're out there, you got to pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. No one's going to be there to like pull you through a hard workout. If it's a long run, you're out there for hours by yourself, your own thoughts. And I think it really strips away a lot of like the stuff that's in the way. You're forced to kind of reckon with, why am I doing this? Because at any moment I could just stop. There's no one that's going to be like, come on, buddy, let's go. If you're out there,
unless it's someone creeping through your Strava.
mm-hmm. It's like, it's just you. I mean, I look at Des Linden. She's incredible, as we all know, but she spends a lot of her time training alone. And she talks about, especially right at the beginning of quarantine, she was like, guys, this is the chance. If you really, everybody loves to say, I love the process. I love this. I love, like, that's like the diehard runner thing to say. Well, if you really love the process and all the races are gone, are you still down to like do what you need to do to grow? And when you've been running alone, I think that really helps you, because I miss running with friends. I think we all do. And I'm not saying that I don't. When I have like a real big banger coming up, I've got like a handful of people that I'll call and I'll be like, hey,
Help.
I'd love it if you ran with me on this awful monster run that I know is going to be really challenging. Now you can use like whenever you're in like a group, when you're in a race, you can really pull from the people around you. But there's going to come times when you're alone in a race, when you're alone on your run, and you need to have the tools, the mental tools, like you got to put them in the toolbox yourself, so that when it comes to that time, you're like, I've been here before. I know what I need to say to myself, to what hoops I have to jump through to get through to the other side of this.
Yeah. Oh
like,
my
that's
God.
like why I was so excited for this 50K. It's still going to happen, but I'm doing it unsupported.
Okay.
So I have to carry everything with me. I just wear a big bag there's no water along the way. There's no anything. So I was really planning. There's like a lot of like bears and mountain lions in the area. So something to think about. There's nobody out there. And I was really stoked, and still stoked, to be like, all right, this is hard and it's very much alone.
Yeah.
And I think you learn a lot about yourself when like the support systems are taken away.
That's not. Are you going to have some sort of like security beacon though, just in case something happened, that Jesse could be like, okay, he's down.
I guess. I don't know. I just my poor mother. My poor mother. It's
I
like,
was gonna say your mom, Jesse's gonna order it off Amazon. It's just gonna be slipped into your backpack without you even knowing, like a little.
oh yeah.
Like,
Because I'll have my phone, but there's no service. So this route that I picked, for the first 27 miles, there's no road access, like no cars, no
27 miles
anything.
out of 32, so pretty much the whole thing.
Pretty much the whole thing. And then like the last couple miles, I connect onto a road.
Yeah.
And then I run the last couple miles on like a little bit of road.
Oh.
But the rest of it's just like, well, it's up and over a bunch of ridges, so
Oh
there's
my
no
God, Matt, please be careful.
I'll be so careful. I
Oh,
say that even though I totally fell.
I know, right? Oh, God.
But that's part of like why this really appealed to me.
Yeah.
Is I was like, this is another great opportunity to have to grind it when no one's looking,
Mm-hmm.
when
Mm-hmm.
there's really no reason why, no reason that I have to.
No,
And
no. Anna,
when
you've done it when you need to. You can walk when you need to,
mhm.
scramble, whatever.
But it's
Your way, cower in front of a no. What is it? You get bigger in front of a bear and cower in front of something else.
yeah. Well, you just don't look the mountain lion in the eyes.
Don't look. Ooh, all right. Nice.
Um, yeah, and just carry your bear spray. That's helpful.
Fair play.
But
I feel like I just try and pick up a skunk.
oh yeah, I would totally take the skunk over a bear.
Yeah, me too.
Definitely, I'd rather just be stinky
But
than a little.
you have done ultras, as in you've done speed projects.
Yes,
Yeah.
I've done speed projects. So that was like I ended up running like 65 miles for that. Um,
Multiple stages, let's say.
mhm,
Not all in one go. So that's the
mhm.
difference here. Is that
Yep. And
it's
I think about like I've gone on some like long training runs. I've done like 30 miles a couple times, and that's like all in pursuit of marathon goals where it's like I'm just gonna go run for 30 miles.
yeah, yeah, go over above and beyond
Mm-hmm.
just because you can. You
Just because
be.
you can. And then I always like doing a little bit of over distance work in pursuit of the marathon, just so when you get done, you're like, you know what? I ran like 30 miles last weekend or 2 weekends ago. I feel pretty solid with only running 26.2. That's like, I can do that.
I think we both, Matt and I used to see each other every now and again on midweek runs, not just those long runs, but those awkward time runs.
Mm-hmm.
And my favorite will be West Side Highway. You were coming back, and I think we both were doing pretty much the same workout of
Mm-hmm.
5 mile blocks. Your speeds were very different to mine, but it was like a sandwich of run of hell. And I
Good
caught
old
you at
hell sandwich.
the end of your run, and you literally just looked at me. You're like, "If I stop, I think I'm going to throw up."
Sometimes you just have to keep going. Like the minute you like let the doubt in, that you let the opportunity to stop,
Mhm.
it becomes very tempting.
Yeah,
When you're like, I could, because if I stop, I don't think I'm gonna go again.
yeah. And I gotta hit this like 5:15 pace or whatever you were pushing at that point. And,
Oh,
oh,
one of these days I'll get back to those.
one of these days we will.
One of these
But my
days.
favorite of all time has to be Matt. Would probably be if I had to have picked one person, or a handful of people. He would have been in that handful of people that I would have wanted to have bumped into en route of New York Marathon.
That was the best.
I have to caveat with this with saying everybody knows I did not start out that run thinking I would ever hit those paces.
That was the best part.
It was bonkers, and it was one of those runs where a hand on my heart was like, I'm feeling good. Honestly, I feel so good. I'm
I'm
not
gonna
going to
go.
go down. And thank goodness I didn't. Because I
God,
got
that was the best day.
to mile 13, and by that point I'd had 10 miles of being told and hearing, oh my God, a girl? Like,
Hmm.
why is everyone so shocked right now? I'm like,
Because
running that fast? I had no idea. I was like,
because like for anybody who like when you think about like the starts of marathons, usually the elite women
mhm,
start first, then the elite men start, and then they wait, and then everybody else starts.
yeah.
So like all these like other men are very much not used to being passed because you don't want to do that because masculinity is very fragile and toxic.
Very.
And like I a lot of people clearly were feeling a little touchy subject about
Mm.
that.
Oh,
But I tell you what, that was a highlight of that race. I could hear you from behind me
Well, I was just running through Brooklyn at that, what was it,
Mhm.
mile 11 to 13,
It
somewhere.
was right before the bridge.
Right
I
before
remember we was right before the bridge.
I looked up, and we'd just gone through like Bedford, we'd gone
Mhm.
through like points where there was certain people who I was really excited to see, like mile 8 of like,
Mhm.
oh, this is gonna be rad. And like, yeah, like, oh my god, and they're all
My
going like,
friends.
Rex, what are you doing? I'm like,
They're
what?
looking at their watch. They're like,
Holy shit, why is she in a bunch of guys? Like, oh, okay, good luck.
feeling good, baby.
And I look up and I see Matt ahead of me. And that was the first point in that race that I just went, oh, what am I doing? I was like, how have I found Matt Meyer? Because this guy is so fast. If I have caught up to him, I was like, this, you're about to go into a pain cave, Rebecca. You need to slow down. But then seeing this guy, seeing that, no, I didn't see your face straight away, but I've run with Matt enough to know his stride, to know his run. And I just was like, what did I say to you? Like, you are majestic or something. Like,
I remember that.
you like, hey.
And I was like,
like,
I heard your voice and I was like, I know that voice. And I looked back and I was like, hey, get up here. Get up here. Come
oh,
on.
but what, like, that made my heart sing to just run that a mile and a half or whatever it was with you. Um,
Mm-hmm.
it really, like, it was such a highlight to run with a good friend at that point, somebody I'd run with and feel so comfortable running with.
It completely, it's, I think that there's, I mean, clearly you cannot physically make a mile easier, but mentally
Not when we're running
being with,
whatever it was, 5:56 or something
yeah, we
disgusting.
were rolling. And like when you get to, there's no way to change it, but mentally, like it kind of shares the burden
Mhm. Mhm.
having someone, and there's like this element of comfort. I think that when you're around somebody like that, you're like, oh, like I feel like my breathing changes and I'm a little more comfortable and I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
I
And funny
feel
enough,
good.
you were like, I think the first person to ever run me in a training run, or just a run that we went on. I think I ran for the first time ever with you over the Queensborough Bridge.
Mm-hmm. I was
And
like,
I
let's go
think
over the bridge.
we were just about to hit the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that in my mind also was like, funny. Matt took me over this for the first time ever and was
And
like, one day you're going to run it.
we're going over it again.
And there we were. And it was amazing. And then I died on First Avenue a little, and I just remember seeing you and Rossi was together with you. Then he hadn't realized I was just behind, and his
Mm-hmm.
turnaround was like, whoa!
What? What?
And he just said, he was like, go get him, as you just went gliding off up First
Mm-hmm.
Avenue. I was like, I'm not chasing him.
I remember coming down. So our friend Peter Bromka, one of your eventual guests on here. I don't know if you're supposed to say that or not, but so Peter's a really big mentor of mine and someone I always look up to, just as like a person, but as a runner as well. And he had told me beforehand, he's like, Matt, I need you. I know this is like the home turf, and I know that you love to really get into the crowd, but I really want you to like keep it contained, and like that is like fuel that you need to like keep the flame burning steady and not like get too crazy too early. And I had done so well until I came off the Queensboro Bridge, and there was just like, so if y'all ever run the New York City Marathon, it's one of the best. Put it on your list if it's not already. The Queensboro Bridge is silent,
Oh,
and you've been being bombarded by sound the entire race
mhm.
until
I've
you
never
get
felt
on,
so alone on that
and then
bridge.
you're on the bridge, and all you just hear is
Yeah.
people's feet,
Mm-hmm.
and then
Your
you can,
own feet. I was literally by myself.
yep, and you
I
just hear feet.
like, what, have I gone the wrong way? Is this the right
Yeah,
way? Like,
and the bridge is empty,
ugh.
and then you take a turn off the bridge, and you start to hear like,
Oh, I got goosebumps. Just
and you bank this really big turn, and then there is a sea of people, like 10, 20 bodies deep, just like, wow. And you're like, and
No,
that was,
that bend as well, because it's a decline and you're just like,
you just came over the bridge and you're just like screaming down. I look at my splits. Part of it was because I was running with you and I was running with Rossi, and then I heard all this sound. I split like 520 coming down off the bridge, and I was like, I feel so good, and I like let it out for a little bit. I'd been really composed, and I gave him a really good Hulk Hogan. I like went like, and people were like, what? And I will always remember that. That's a very, very wonderful feeling.
It is. And then you get to the other side and you're up in Harlem and it's in the Bronx.
Starts to thin out a little bit.
Again, that final bridge is the
because you go up and over Madison Avenue. You do the Madison Avenue Bridge.
The bridge in the Bronx, up in the Bronx, begins with a C. Oh God. The little tiny final, the last bridge that we take of the marathon.
When you're coming back.
Yeah, when you've got to the top and you're coming back. So you're back down and then onto Fifth. There's that little, really small bridge. Where just before the Boogie Town Bronx guys were just on there. There was Zach Heitrick was on the bridge.
Oh yes, so because it's like the First Avenue Bridge. Like if you're going straight up.
Yeah.
Because Zach was the he was hanging out right there, and then it's, oh golly, why can I not think right now?
I know.
I'm just gonna look it up, because you have the Willis Avenue Bridge.
Yeah.
Is the really short one when you go into the Bronx.
Yeah.
And then you come back down on the Third Avenue Bridge.
Oh, I just remember that quiet, and I'd never run up there in my life. And again, I was on both of those bridges alone. Like nobody near me. And there was no one cheering. There was the odd person. Like I didn't see Zach, but he got a great photo. I remember seeing a couple of people from Brooklyn Track Club up on the bridge cheering. And that was my only sign that I was in the right place. I was like, ugh.
And like, because then if you look up on, I always love, because if you look up on the light posts, there's like the little blue banner that says like New York City Marathon route. But besides that, I remember we were running through the Bronx. I was alone at this point. I had like had a pretty solid group with me, and I dropped everybody once we'd gotten to those last two bridges in the Bronx. And I had these two old dudes standing on a corner in the Bronx that were like, "Welcome to the Bronx. Now get the hell out." And I was like, I'm trying. I'm running literally as fast as I can right now.
Yep. Yeah. It is. I mean, it's the most incredible experience ever, and I think my only downside, I would say, of where we were in the race was that the Bronx and Harlem later on in the day becomes the place to run.
Yes.
And we just missed it. Like I see pictures further down when there was like a few more of the crews were a bit further down at like 21, 22, around that area as you're coming onto Fifth Avenue.
Yep.
There, but like
there's always the Uptown Cheer Station at like mile 21.
Yeah. That, but it was relatively small to what I saw pictures of later in the day. They were coming in on the route later on in the day.
And what I love is like people who might have been cheering like early on in the race move towards the end, and then it like just gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
God, I just don't really remember much after the Peloton cheer zone at 20.
Because after you have to kind of just kind of zone out and let it all wash over you.
Yeah, the pain, the elation, the digging deeper than you've ever dug before.
You have to have it all, and you kind of just you lose a little bit of contact with like how things feel, and you just kind of get crazy for a little bit.
Oh my gosh, I like fully. I think the one thing I do remember is coming off of Park.
Yep.
The last turn back into the park, and it narrows. And then there is a little hummock that they cover over because there's a shit ton, excuse my French, of electrical wires that they have to, health and safety wise, cover. but it ends up being about this high off the
Mm-hmm.
ground. And there's one person, one amazing, wonderful race official, and I can see her lovely face just looking at me, and A, thinking like, it's a girl, and B, her just going, lift your feet up as I just came in. She could probably just see me like, oh my God. And I looked down, and she must have just saved a split second of saving me, of like, wow, why would you do that to people?
Right there.
When like you kind of come back to consciousness because you're going into the park, and your finish is very far in your mind right then, but very close.
That was the spot. Like I'd done a bunch of workouts where I'd finished them in the park. Like I remember I'd done like this big nasty like 24-mile thing that I wanted to finish. I wanted, because it was like a 5K all out starting at Engineers Gate, which is right when you come back into the park. Because I really wanted to know and to have like multiple experiences of being like, all right, all you got to do is get back to the park. Once you come into Engineers Gate, you've ran this before, you know what it feels like to have all of this, like to be this tired, to be just at bottom of the tank. And like, there's something to be said for how it feels when you're like, all right, I've been here before. I've done this. If I've already done it before, I know I can do it again.
Yeah.
And like right when you hit back to the park, that was what I was telling myself. I was like, you've done this before. This is home turf. You're good. How many times have you ran in Central Park? How many times? Like too many times. So like once you get back, you're like, this is normal. This is just any other day.
Oh, and it wasn't. It was the best day ever.
It was the best day. We have a really great photo from the finish line.
Yeah.
I was so happy to wait. I like got across the finish line, and I was just kind of dead there for a little bit, and you came sailing right in.
And then you made me cry.
I think there was lots of crying happening that day regardless.
I know, you were such a treasure to wait. You had a good 5-minute wait, but
part of it was I really wanted to wait, and part of it I was like, I don't think I can walk right now.
I'm just gonna chill here. I've got a friend coming. Should be here in a minute.
They're like, sir, please keep moving. And I was like,
I'm good.
What if I didn't?
Yeah.
All right. She's just out there. I'm waiting for a friend.
They're like, yes, well, the first woman doesn't normally come in for this time.
Oh, she's right there. I see her coming. Yep. Because it's like
it was just so incredible to see you. And yeah, somebody, I don't remember who it was, but somebody recorded our embrace, and a stranger sent it to me on Instagram, and they were like, I caught you and your friend. I rewatched it 100 times, just kept crying. I was like, oh, it was so nice.
Oh,
but
that was so good.
We did it. 2 little PRs, or 2 big PRs, should I say?
That was a big day.
It was a big day.
That's a big day.
I feel like I'm with you all the time.
We're getting closer to that. Like, I think in my head, that wasn't that long ago, but it's getting closer to a year ago now.
Yeah. 7 weeks, I think.
Woof. I just like, and part of me wonders, like, I look at those paces, and I look at that race, and I'm like, how am I ever going to get back there? Like, that's a question I know I ask myself all the time when I have to go run like a workout where I'm like, you ran faster and longer than this.
Drastically longer.
Drastically.
Not just a marathon. It's fun. Like, I sit on the tread and I see that pace, I put it in, and I'm like, yeah, I can do it for like 6 miles.
How did I do this? Yeah. And like, I try not to fall into that mental trap of being like, there's so many factors. Like, a taper does wonderful things. You literally had spent weeks and weeks and weeks telling your body to do this one thing very well for a long period of time. You can't like it's hard not to get down on yourself. And like, I know that I don't know about you, but I was that like just like spring shot me, launched me into like a whole nother level of fitness on the other side of it. Like after that, I ran some incredible stuff in this spring this year. Like that's another one. Like it's Boston. I was really excited. I was really ready. I was like 228. I'm gonna run 228 in Boston this year. I'm stoked.
Mhm.
And I'd been running some amazing races. I was like, wow. I'd finally gotten under 33 minutes in a 10K.
Yeah.
I'd ran like a 53-minute 10 miler.
Mhm.
Uh,
And
I'd
just to be
like
clear, your New York Marathon time was 2:33.
yeah.
2:33, which was 9 minutes, a 9-minute PR.
Yep, 9-minute PR. Or actually, because there was a 5-minute because I just ran Boston earlier that year in 2:39.
See,
And
we have to run races together. We PR at the same races.
we're good luck for each other.
Yeah. We're gonna
So
do it.
whenever races come back, we'll have to double. Oh, Max, I don't know.
We
Look,
got
are we gonna sign up for this one? Okay, we're good.
it. But that's for you to go and do a 2:28. You know, any PR is massive. Any big
Mhm.
jump in training, be it 1 minute, be 10 minutes, is huge.
Mhm.
But you know, at that point, for you and where you're at, it's tweaks.
The
And what I
tweaks.
say, because you were at that point of fitness where you were like, I am crushing this, and I feel so good.
I felt so good. Like I had ran this was the last week of this was like right when the shutdown happened.
Mhm.
I was supposed to run the New York City half.
Yes, we
It was
were.
canceled.
That was supposed to be
Totally
the
and
best elite race ever.
I what a time. I ended up finding a little race
Mhm.
that weekend in the Rockaways. There was like 25, 30 people that ran it. I was like, I've got all this fitness. I'm just gonna go rip it and see what I can do. And I ran 112. I felt great. Like the idea was like, all right, let's try to run like relatively close to marathon pace.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, I feel really good. I like went out on the front from the beginning and I felt confident. I was like, I feel pretty solid.
Yeah.
And like my heart rate was comfortable. I got done and I was like, oh,
I got
I
this.
feel I feel pretty good.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, things are just going to keep rolling like this. I'm expecting it to go like this. And it absolutely didn't. Like, oh.
Ugh.
And like, kind of just have to let that happen,
Yeah.
which is
You do.
really
That's the thing.
frustrating.
You have to let it happen, and you learn from it. There's nothing
Mhm.
you can ever say as annoyed as and as heartbreaking as it is when you feel like you're at that point of fitness or when you've put in the time or both
Yeah.
and it doesn't go to plan. Standing on the start line of any race is Russian roulette. Oh, guests, mommy's home.
Oh,
Ah,
yes.
love that.
Ellie loves to give a bark when people come home.
Oh yeah, why not? She's a mountain dog now. She's supposed to.
Ow.
Proper guard dog.
Oh, yes. But yeah, like
Russian roulette.
those things are
Start on it. You just like you can put in every second of your training can be perfect.
Mhm.
There is nothing in this world that's going to promise you that every second of your race is going to be perfect.
No, there is. I think this is like I'm going back to like another Peter one on this one. We've talked about it that like there is never a guarantee, but there is an opportunity, and that's all you can ever hope for.
Yeah.
Is like you've done everything you can. The hay's in the barn, and there is a great opportunity ahead of you, and it's not like you're like destined like this has to happen or like I've done A, B, and C, so I definitely will have this will happen. But like you've just done your best. You've got a great opportunity. You got to just get out there and roll the dice.
Yep. There's shoulds and have tos in running.
Yeah, like this weekend, I've been putting up like some really solid runs up here.
Mhm.
I've been feeling great. I've been running like 28, 30 miles on the weekend, like on a Saturday or a Sunday, and feeling totally fine with that. I've put in like a really great training block for this. And I was like, all right, I'm going to go run my race. It's just me. I'm going to go out. And then I literally just fall. Sometimes we fall.
Yeah, sometimes we
Physic- literally, metaphorically, whatever it is. And like, I took a second to be really frustrated because I think we owe it to ourselves. Like, you have to grieve the loss.
Yeah,
Like,
it's recognition.
I was like, man, I felt great.
Yeah.
Just like when Boston was canceled this year, I was like, dang it.
Mm-hmm.
I was really excited. But control what you can control.
Exactly.
You have zero control over that.
Exactly.
And so it's like, all right, well, I can just be tied up and bummed about this, or I can like let the feelings happen and then move on.
Yeah.
Move on.
That's how it is. All right, I'm going to ask you some quick fire questions. Ooh, all right. 3 most influential people in your life.
Oh, golly. Well, my partner Jessie is 100% one of them. She like teaches me how to really show up and to pursue what I want relentlessly. And I love her very much. Wow, I haven't thought about this in a second. We've been talking about him. Peter Bromka is someone who I look at that I go like, this is someone who I really want to be more like, that I really love, not just like how they are as a runner, but how they are as a person. That like, they're like, this is someone who really teaches me how to show up. And another dear friend of mine, Jess Movold, is someone who I look at and I go like, wow, you really like, this is someone who relentlessly pursues what they want. And I think those are 3 good ones. I hadn't even thought about this.
They're all very wonderful people.
I'm really lucky that I think that one of the best things you can do for yourself is if you want something, if you want to like grow, to change, you have to find people who are at a higher level than you are, and surround yourself with those people. Like if you feel stagnant, if you're feeling like you're not getting any progress, you may have like reached like your top level in the bubble that you're in, and that's okay. Keep like finding people who ask more of you. That's a huge thing.
That's great advice. Such great advice. Then, here we go. If you could have a billboard with anything on it, what would it be and why?
Oh, a billboard with anything on it. Wow, I like that. I think if I could have a billboard with anything on it, I would really want it to say, like, to ask people to question what they think is possible for themselves. That too many times we get, like, we've let someone tell us what we can do, or you've let societal constraints like box you in. When you run past people and they're like, a girl? No, absolutely not. I refuse to let that. That's just no, on so many levels. But the fact that like half the times we sell ourselves short based on things we've learned. So I think you really just have to question. So in the billboard, it would say like, yeah, question what's possible.
Wow, question what's possible. All right, 2 more. Last one, penultimate one. How do your parents describe what you do for a living?
That's a really good one. So my folks had never seen me run before, because like you said, running is a new thing. This year, they came and saw the New York City Marathon. I was really lucky. I got to work with New Balance this year. I got to be one of their like faces for the marathon. So along with that, I ended up getting some box seats at the finish line with the press group. And so I love what running's done for me, and who I am when I run, how I am, the way that it's changed how I interact with people, the way that it's changed like how I show up on a daily basis. And I'd never really gotten my parents to see that. And so I got them box seats at the thing, and they got to see the finish line. They ended up, oddly enough, sitting next to Jared Ward's agent with Saucony. And it was this really nice person. I've never met them, but they got to they kind of explained things from my folks, and they're like, they're like watching me on the track, and they're like, oh, he's doing very well. I don't know if you know, but he's doing very well.
Yeah,
He's quite fast. And like when Jared ran past it, like, so that's an Olympian right there. And your son will be coming soon. if that like helps you at all. But like I remember I finished the race and I went up to them afterwards, and my dad was like, I've never been so proud of you. That's my son. And he gave me a big hug. And that whole week, my mom was like, did you know this is my son. He ran the marathon. Did you run the marathon?
I remember.
He ran it in this fast. Like, Mom, you can't just tell people that. It's like you don't just compare.
Mother, I will tell everybody.
Exactly. She's like, oh, you might have to be polite, but I can say what I want. So I was like, okay, Mom. But I think that so when they describe it, I think they just they say that I run, and then I teach people to run.
Okay.
But mostly they then defer and they say, well, here's a picture of him from the New York City Marathon. That was a very, very proud moment.
Okay, this is the justification / larger explanation of what I'm trying to do.
It was nice when they were like, so I'm sorry, we didn't really get it.
Yeah.
Get what you were doing before, but
until now, I kind of
get it now. And they're still learning.
That is amazing. All right, final question. What is your dream race to run?
Well, I've got two.
Okay.
I've got two dream races.
Have that.
My big dream race is I want to run in the Olympic trials. So I don't think that I'll ever qualify to run in the Olympics. That's kind of ridiculous. Obviously, like there are some things, but I would love, like my big selfish running dream is I really want to run in the Olympic trials. So I just need to qualify. I got to run 2:19, which is so fast. And I know so many people who are better runners than I am who are still pursuing that goal. But even though I think the bigger, the scarier the goal, the better it is.
Yeah.
That you gotta reach for it. And like even when I say it, I get like kind of nervous, but that means that I care, and it means that it's going to be hard, and it's going to make me into something better than I am right now. Yeah. And so that's a goal. I'd love to run that. I will run that. That's not even, it's going to happen. It's just a matter of when. Mm-hmm. And then I also really want to run Western States.
Yeah. Western States 100?
Western States 100.
I'll be on your crew.
You crew me?
I just said that on camera.
Oh, I'm totally holding you to this. So yeah, I really want to run. I really want to run States some year. I've always like ever since I found out about it, I was like, this is so cool. Oh yeah. And it because it strikes me as like I love the history of Boston. I love that New York. I love these races that have a long history. Mm-hmm. So that's on the list. Like I really that's the other dream race is someday. Obviously, I have to qualify for that run. So I have two races. My two dream races are both like qualification-based races. Okay. So it's more than just getting to run the race itself, but it's the process of getting there. Just being on the start line for either one of those will be like this. Just being here shows so much of what it took to get here. Like I think that like Coach Bennett always talks about the fact that he's like, the real race was you getting to the start line. The rest of it's just like a celebration and an opportunity of the work, right? Mm-hmm. But the real, you never see everything that went up to just getting there. Yeah. And those two races are ones that I'm like, there is so much that goes into stepping onto that start line. So yeah, knowing that I will have gotten there will have been like, I did a lot to get here.
2 minutes of either of those races, you can just be like, did you know though? I got that.
what it took to get here.
All of that stuff behind me. Ah, I didn't even
Mhm.
need
This
that.
little spot, there's just this thing in front of me now, which
Yeah.
seems this big as opposed to everything it took to just get to that line.
And you will always know from that day on that you towed the line that
Mhm.
it's possible to do it.
Oh
From
yeah, and that translates to everything, not just in running. That like so many times we see someone who's like at like the top of the field, who's like whatever it is in their business, in their career, whatever that happens to be. You're like, wow, they're so good at this. They're at this like crazy high level, and you're like, what you see there, is the iceberg. You see the
that.
tip of what's up outside of the water.
Yeah.
You have no idea what it took to get to that place, and I try to look at that in whatever it is.
I love that. I love that. Wow. We have a lot to look forward to watching you run, Mr. Mayor. That's
We
for
got some
sure.
fun stuff coming up. Who knows? I
Yay.
just am trying to keep enjoying it. Still love it. So
That's the biggest piece of advice I think any of the people I adore and myself we have in common that we give people is always enjoy the run. The minute you
enjoy it.
don't enjoy it, don't do it.
Yeah. Because then it becomes like taxes. This thing you got to do.
You gotta do which sucks. No.
Yeah, nobody likes that. Unless we got people out there who really enjoy doing their taxes, I'm not going to take that away from you. But you just, yeah, do it because you love it. If there's, I'm not getting, I don't have a professional contract with a running company to run, so it's not like I'm getting paid to do it.
We're not being
So
forced to go out and feel sick, but
yeah, I do it because I want to and I love it. That's what we're doing it for.
well, I think that is a fantastic note to end on. Thank you for your time, your energy,
Of course.
your love.
I couldn't miss out on a chance to talk to you.
But here we go. We will, I'm sure, do it again soon. I'm going to stop recording.